So I go to school at BYU, Idaho, which is a church-run school by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormons. And this is what I'm learning in my college-level human anatomy and physiology class. Every diagram is censored to block out the genitalia and female breasts. His reasoning was because there are freshmen in the class who are too young for that, or they will learn about it when they're older or when they're further along in their major. My favorite is how we're going to go over the reproductive organs without being able to see them. So I don't know how that one makes sense. A good chunk of these freshmen that are too young to see the human body in an anatomically correct way will also be married within the next couple semesters, because that's just what's normal here. This does not make sense to me.
Well, once those folks are married, then at least maybe they'll get a chance to understand what the human anatomy class is teaching them, because they can't see it there. So of course, that's BYU Idaho, a student that's exposing some of these courses. One of them in particular, the human anatomy and physiology class here. And they're censoring these body parts because that's disgusting, it's nastiness. There's other students there that did point this out as well. There's another tweet here that point out, in today's edition of WTF, college level anatomy class puts censor bubbles because foreign, I guess, organs, the nervous system, and vein diagrams. I don't censor these for my kids of any age. I can't, you guys. So this is what's going on now. They're pushing all of this censorship because if you see breasts or maybe even genitalia, again, what is it that's gonna happen to you? Scroll through a few more of these tweets, you guys, because there are pictures of what's happening. Because other folks said it's kind of ridiculous that in my human anatomy class, they censor parts of the body. Everyone doesn't get, they just don't understand how this is a possible normal thing. Next one, for those asking, yes, literally every picture of the human body is censored. He said today it's because there are freshmen in the class and they aren't ready to see these things till they're older or till they're further in their major. Oh my God, hey Dan, if you have to see a doctor, check their credentials. If they graduated from BYU Idaho, they might not know what to do with you. You'd be like, what's this thing? Oh my God, get it out of here.
I have some breaking news for the dean of BYU Idaho. You run a college, they're gonna run into those parts at one time or another. Like, I'm sorry.
Not at BYU, bro.
There are some memes online of some kids figuring this out by themselves. And to make this like a little bit of a serious point, like in America broadly, even in supposed like secular schools or teaching, right? Like we just do a really bad job at teaching people about sex and proper sexual health and proper sexual education around sexual harassment, prevention and awareness, consent, all those things. We do a really bad job of teaching that. Like the year after I was in high school and middle school, they just cut those programs entirely and just stopped teaching them even in America, right? Even in a public school. So I think across the board, every school has to rethink how they make sure kids and young adults are learning about these things in a responsible, mature way. But the issue isn't that, oh no, we can't teach them about this at all. We can't, because the place they're going to look for and find erotic imagery is in a book where you can see the lungs and the veins of a person and like all of that. Like these people clearly aren't thinking. You can tell because these are the books they're coming from.
If these images turn you on, you just so down bad it's not even worth even discussing anymore.
All of the amendments and discussion on this most important piece of legislation cut off. Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're saying to the citizens of the state of Tennessee?
Mr. Speaker, it cuts off all debate. How unfortunate for the people of the state of Tennessee that on probably the most important bill we'll pass this year, the majority.
We are voting. Chairman White renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, just for the sponsored knowledge, a lot of us had a lot to say on the biggest bill in the last 40 years in this General Assembly, but since democracy got overlooked.
Representative Mitchell, you need to stay on the bill. It's not time to make political statements. If you want to question the bill, that's perfectly fine. You have any questions on the bill?
I just want to know, is this a legislative body or are we just gonna?
All right, thank you very much. Representative Clemens, you're recognized. Representative Clemens, you're recognized.
The Tennessee Speaker of the House said Jerry Sexton was cutting microphones from Democrats that were complaining about how they weren't allowed to participate in the political system, in democracy, in representing the people that elected them. They don't matter. This is what happens when Republicans, especially at the state level, get control. We've seen it in other states as well. So he's cutting off microphones, doesn't want them to have to add a chance to add amendments or even debate things on this. They had a few suggested amendments before this bill, which by the way, it allocates K through 12 funding, and it passed. They wanted some amendments put on board, but they don't even get to speak. Let's go to some details. So it was last minute drama with the legislation as Republicans in the House and their supermajority cut off debate before Democrats had the ability to present several amendments to that legislation that was first brought up Wednesday. Representative Bo Mitchell, who's from Nashville, could be heard yelling, "You should be ashamed," as the debate was cut off. Frustration has mounted in recent days among Democratic lawmakers after that House leadership did all of this right in the face on camera and kind of don't care. It didn't end there, it continued on because opponents of this legislation, they called it the book burning bill. So there's more that they're pushing back, and they also don't want them talking about this either. But they also openly maybe agree to this book burning label for this bill. Watch.
Let's say you take these books out of the library. What are you going to do with them? You going to put them in the street? Light them on fire? Where are they going?
I don't have a clue, but I would burn them.
That's what I thought. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
I'd burn them for sure, I'd burn them. A few more details on this real quick, Dan, before you jump in. So this Republican-led Tennessee State House, as we already know is what it is, passed a bill Wednesday that would require public school librarians to submit to the state a list of book titles for approval. The bill, according to Sexton, would also allow parents to flag books on librarians' lists that they don't like, and allowing them to appeal to authorities on the book's future on the shelves. What authorities? Okay. So there was a different version that did get passed that had some other features to it, but it still is gonna allow parents to dig in deep, complain about whatever books they wanna complain about. And I'm sure this legislative body or this overseeing body that's gonna determine who's right and who's wrong just might lean the way of the Republicans that put this whole thing together, Dan.
Well, listen, if these people love free speech in the marketplace of ideas, why don't they just let these books exist and then let their kids learn what's in the books, and then they'll have a little bit of discussion and the best idea will win. Why aren't they worried about kids just finding out if the best idea will win? Is it because that kids are relatively smart, they haven't been poisoned by a lot of the political rhetoric that's out there that us adults get succumbed to because we have no other structures to teach us or take us out of them? And so they might come to the right conclusions on race or gender or any of these other different things that Republicans are annoyed about. A lot of these things aren't even about race or gender, it's just about like teaching things that are supposed to be well-established history about slavery or civil rights or whatever's going on. So it is amazing how Republicans continually talk about censorship and cancel culture and how the Democrats are trying to create this sort of communist sort of government where they have all control and there's no freedom, and they're simultaneously cutting other lawmakers' microphones when they're speaking out about issues.
The projection is real.
Yeah. The Democrats need to be better politicians and point this out, that they are projecting, they are hypocrites, and these are the things that apparently they spent so many years yelling about that it's like, if the right wing's been yelling about this for so many years and the left can't win voters by calling out the hypocrisy on this, then it's a lot more bleak than even I thought. But I would like to see the Democrats try.